There are some shaky places in the economy, but most of the really shakiest parts seem to be drying up and going away. I'll share some truly good news reports today that are hard to dismiss regarding the economy. We'll also look at various reports that came in today, and we'll take a look at Tesla, which might try to make a new low, a recent low at 235 today, but right now is up. This is Randy Kirk. If you like this morning show, hey, if you like anything, if there's any reason you can think of to press the like button, hit the like button, and then you might want to hit the subscribe and notify button. I've got another report on Optimus coming up with Scott Walter, and you know how much you love to hear from Scott. So he'll be on, I think, maybe Thursday. Anyway, and then, of course, Patreon. We could always use more folks signing up for Patreon. Barrons says there won't be a recession this year. And they say you can take that to the bank. In an article by Andy Serwer, he says there won't be a recession this year, not with all the help wanted signs plastered on storefronts. Who's been talking about how do you have a recession when you have full employment? And then he goes on to say, and friends telling me they can't find people to hire for their businesses, not with some 2.5 million airline passengers a day filing through TSA checkpoints. And I can tell you that friends of mine have talked about the high price of airfare right now, just crazy. It goes on to say, not with hotel room rates up over 10% from pre-pandemic levels for most major U.S. cities, and not with the market up 14% year to date. So he has this general idea that maybe there's no recession going to happen. He goes on to say, the blue chip consensus forecast of economists in the second quarter that was negative in early April is now climbing to 1%. Plus 1%, while the Atlanta Fed's GDP now number is hovering around plus 2%. Look, he says nothing to write home about, but moving in the right direction. He goes on a little bit more here. He says the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey is up 8% in June, reaching its highest level in 4 months and reflecting greater optimism as inflation is easing. Older people, this is a big one. This is one to pay attention to. Older people are spending briskly after getting the biggest boost in their Social Security since 1981. It was very nice to receive. Granted, overall spending by consumers is selective. They're spending money on restaurants, food, and travel, but cars and jewelry, not so much. I think cars are coming. I don't know about jewelry, but cars will be coming. We have this aging the inventory of cars right now in the United States is the oldest it's ever been. So looks like I think car sales will be picking up later. We'll talk more about that later. This is a Goldilocks mindset, he says, rather than bubble binging, which is positive. So we have all of these things are right. Rather than people are binging on things, people are buying what they need. They're buying things that are within their normal range of purchases. Finally, he ends with, but the most positive fact, certainly over the longer term, is the under-recognized $2 trillion of spending from Washington in 3 bills. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Creating Helpful Incentives to Produce Semiconductors and Science Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. And I know I'm a rock-ribbed Republican. I'm going to tell you that I think that there's a lot wrong with these 3 bills, probably way too much money spent, but I actually like what they're doing. I like that they're pulling back manufacturing into America. Although Kevin Polari, the lead of Doolittle's Infrastructure and Capital Projects Program for state and local governments, cautions that some of this money is incremental, he nevertheless is most sanguine about the spend. The quote for him is, the money is huge in its impact on industry and the momentum it has created. It has catalyzed so much activity that's really kind of mind-boggling. And as I go around meeting with metropolitan planning organizations, the amount of projects is really, really stunning for manufacturing. Brookings is also calling this the start of America's infrastructure decade. That's Joe Quinlan, head of Chief Investment Officer Market Strategy for Merrill and Bank of America, says the U.S. is in an early stages of a manufacturing supercycle. Quinlan points to endeavors in renewable energy, electric vehicles and batteries, charging stations and semiconductors, as well as ports, highways, grids, and airports. He sees the national annual manufacturing construction outlay soaring to nearly $200 billion this year, up 4 times what it was a decade ago. And in all of that article and everything that we just talked about, there wasn't a single mention of GPT, robotaxis, or Optimus, which are the 3 biggest things that are going to hit in this decade, and they're all 3 still to hit. All right. So one of my followers on the station here, Jesse Lee Dow 1, that's at Jesse Lee Dow 1, says rates on all loans at commercial banks are near, delinquency rates on all loans at commercial banks are near record lows as of the end of Q1. So while people are spending on their credit cards, they have not gone to a place where they can't pay their bills. So at least so far, that's another positive. We're not seeing this delinquency rate thing start to happen on commercial loans, including car loans. Apparently, used car prices are going up again, which is not a good thing, but it's also not having much impact yet. Okay, and then another positive thing here: workplace or workforce satisfaction is at its highest ever. Overall, 62% of the U.S. workers were satisfied in 2022, up from 60.2 in 2021. It's the highest level since the survey began in 1987. Now, let's take a little of the good news, and we'll have to have a little sad news here. Central bankers have started their meeting this week, and the very first statements coming out of the president of the organization was that expect more rate increases from the central banks. They have to stay hawkish about inflation. Very greatly concerned about some parts of Europe. And then Powell will be speaking later this week on a panel, as well as I think giving a talk. So the central bank could be giving the market trouble all this week. Look for that. Okay, back to good news again. Durable goods orders were up for May, with strong increases in transportation-related items and going from negative in April to positive 0.6% in May for the non-transportation related items. This was kind of expected, and I think is evidence again that we're already back into growth mode. Housing prices increased month over month by 1.7%. Gosh, what a shock. I know, I've been saying this forever. I can tell you right now, I know a lot about real estate, and real estate prices are going to be going up. It is season, and there's no inventory. So it's like basic economics 101, no inventory, lots of demand, and nobody's going to care about the interest rates. Smart people know, they've done it before. Okay, so I pay 7% interest rate for a home. The interest rates will come back down and I'll just refinance. Elon Musk tweeted today that version 12 of FSD will not be beta. So that was an interesting tweet. We're on 11.4.4. There's a lot of tweeting right now about this kind of weird case that came up over the weekend with Ross Gerber and Dan O'Dowd, and they took this drive together, and you have this edge case around a corner at a high speed. Anyway, lots of conversation about that. I have to believe that there's still a lot of edge cases out there, but at some point, FSD is going to work well enough that it will no longer be in beta, and you will be on your own. You'll have to make your own decisions with regard to how you use it. Tesla's China weekly insured numbers were a very strong 16.7, says Gary Black, for the week of 6/19 to 6/25, putting it on a pace for a record 150,000 deliveries for the second quarter. Once again, I'm sticking with my number of 460 for Sunday. I think we hit 460. Gary's at 450. Other people are at 440. So I'm going with 460, but then I am an optimist. You have to just take that into consideration. The Spain factory, the possible gigafactory in Spain, is a no-go. It's off the list now. Apparently, they spoke out of turn about the ongoing negotiations that were taking place with Tesla that were apparently very advanced, and Tesla has just walked away. And who knows why this particular time, because I can remember Mexico talking early about what was going on in Mexico. I can remember other places, I think India, talking about possible negotiations. So, but maybe they were at an advanced state, and Tesla had asked them to not talk, and they did, and they have now walked away from that. Baird analyst Ken Callow has reiterated his buy rating on Tesla. Okay, here we go. Here's an analyst going the other way. He says he likes it as his best pick for the year. With that said, we think sentiment headed into the quarter is negative, and the stock likely trades down into the quarter, which should be the low point for gross margins. So he thinks that the margins are still going to be lower. Either I don't know whether he thinks it's going to be lower than the 19% or whether he thinks it'll be around 19%. Anyway, he's cautious going into this print. He thinks there'll be a de-risking event, and buyers are likely to step in following the results. So he thinks the real buying will happen after second quarter earnings are reported. And so he's thinking that it'd be a good idea to back off this week and wait until after July 2nd. When the delivery numbers come out to decide whether to get in. Well, that is a risk-off approach to doing things. If you think the number is going to be high, I guess this would be a time to get in and buy low. I'm not sure exactly. Anyway, I'm not an investment advisor. This is not investment advice. Bond yields are still going lower on the 10 and the 2-year, although slightly up again on the 2-month, which this has been a trend. Oil continues down, and we have some analysts now thinking that oil might break down below its current levels quite strongly. And then Tesla started out this morning ahead. It was up 3. I'm going to take a look here. Look here, it's now up 5, almost 5 in the morning. So I'm still not ruling out a possibility of today or tomorrow, depending on where the NASDAQ goes. Tesla could go back down and take a look at 235, 237. But all in all, as we get closer to the end of the week, as I've mentioned before, I think that it will no longer be about what the NASDAQ is doing. It'll be about investors doing window dressing, the major funds and whatnot that have to do window dressing, maybe picking up some Tesla. You probably won't have Cathie Wood selling any going into the weekend, unless, again, she has to in order to get her numbers down to 10%, which is what she does. And also because people will be trying to outguess the numbers that are coming out on Sunday. So I think Tesla will be completely on its own. As of this morning, the NASDAQ is up strongly, up 91. The Dow is up, the S&P is up, and Tesla continues up at around now only 4. So there's where we are right now going into Tuesday. I'll be coming back again this time tomorrow. So if you like these morning reports, please let me know by hitting the like. It just freshens my day when I see all those likes. And then make comments. You can tell I answer the comments. So I may not always be able to, but right now I'm trying my best to respond to as many comments as possible. So hit the comment button, hit subscribe, hit notify, and then of course, love to have you part of the Patreon, and then buy the books. Those are a lifetime's work. So go over to Amazon and buy them in any form you want. You can buy them as a hardback, most of them are available as hardbacks, as paperbacks on Kindle, as well as you can get every single one of them is available on audio. All right, that's all I got for you right now, and it's been great